didn't do anything with it.
Oh, man. But, no, it is going to be interesting to deal with your, second straight week now without Terry McLaurin. And last week, I felt like we were so upset with the performance of this defense that we kind of gave the offense a pass. They put up 27 points. They were able to move the ball well on the ground. But Marcus Mariota threw for 156 yards last week.
Not great.
Yeah, not very good. Tay Martin getting the call up. He had a reception. Nobody had more than 2 catches on the afternoon outside of Deebo Samuel. That is, if there is a concern, and I hate that we're starting with a concern, if there is a concern this afternoon, I wonder, can the guys on the perimeter get open quickly for Jayden Daniels? This is a Chargers team that is known for sending pressure on the early downs.
Yeah.
They are a top 5 defense in every statistical category. And it's going to be a tough
terrifying,
task.
By the way.
Yeah.
Because the Commanders haven't played great against great defenses. We saw that. In fact, the last time we were here, we're live at Honor Brewing in Sterling. The last time we were here was the Packers game.
Don't remind me.
The Packers game was an abysmal performance because that was a really good defense. So I'm very concerned, skeptical, maybe a little bit optimistic as to what is going to happen this afternoon in terms of who's going to step up. Because as you mentioned, I think the biggest takeaway from last week was that outside of Deebo Samuel, they don't really have a guy to throw to. Now, maybe that was partially because Marcus does not have the same chemistry that Jayden has with Zach Ertz. I don't know that Luke McCaffrey has chemistry with any quarterback right now because he hasn't played enough. And the rest of the guys on the roster, they're still kind of coming into their own as players. It's a little bit of a younger group this year for Washington, whereas last year it was the older group for Washington at the wide receiver position. So I am a little nervous about that and how they're going to get after the Chargers defensively when it comes to explosive plays. If not that, it's just going to be running the football, which I don't hate. I want them to run the football. They're very good at running the football.
So I'm going to steal an adage from my pal Doc Walker. He said something the other day on Burgundy and Gold today that made me chuckle. He compared Cliff Kingsbury to an artist, and he wants his paintings to get messy today, right? Doc used the analogy of Cliff Kingsbury walks around listening to jazz music. I want him listening to early 2000s hip-hop. Give me rap. Give me all the vulgar music you can, because I think it's what Washington's going to need here this afternoon. We've talked about it. The Chargers are a good defense. We're limited on the perimeter. RTDB. Run the damn Bill. That's what I need to see here this afternoon. Give me all the Bill Krosky merit you possibly can. He's PFF's leading rusher and highest graded rusher heading into this contest, and I want to see him get loose here this afternoon.
Washington, for the second year in a row, is the second best running team in the NFL right now. And I think that is a testament to Cliff Kingsbury. I want more. I'm selfish. I'm with you. I want to see Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt do more. I want to see Chris Rodriguez do more. Jeremy McNichols. Every time these guys get opportunities to run the football, they have success. I think they've done a really good job building the offensive line now.
Yeah.
I don't know that Brandon Coleman's going to play again. Honestly, haven't really missed him the past 2 weeks, which is a little alarming, but I haven't really missed him the past 2 weeks. I just want guys, I want them to run the football more. Hey, I see him.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one off the air. But, this offensive line is going to get tested once again here this afternoon. The one thing that I think Washington has to exploit today, and this is why I'm concerned a little bit about Jayden Daniels and how healthy he actually is, you're going to have your quarterback be a part of your running game today. This is the type of defense that you're going against, and I think to keep them honest and to not allow them to pin their ears back, he's got to be a part of the running game like Marcus Mariota was, and I'd honestly, Denton, like to see it early.
So in what capacity do you mean by that? Because what you just mentioned, like Marcus Mariota was, the way that Mariota was involved in the run game was way more in the nature of RPOs and scrambles rather than like quarterback powers or quarterback sweeps. And sometimes we've seen Jayden be way more involved. This is my biggest pet peeve with Cliff, is that we've seen Jayden quarterback power, direct into 300-pound bodies.
Yeah.
Quarterback sweeps to where it's an open field and the safety is careening, running downhill, and he gets smacked at the point of attack.
Yeah.
So what capacity do you think that Jayden is going to be involved in the run game with?
I think however you can get him going, your traditional running game like you just talked about with your quarterback powers and with your speed options, I think they should want to come out here this afternoon and show right away that, yes, Jayden Daniels is not going to be limited in any capacity. Yes, he is back, not out of desperation, but because he is actually 110% healthy. So everything that you just said, the RPOs, the read option, the speed option, quarterback counter, quarterback draw. I want to see it because he shouldn't be out there. This is my thing that I keep harping on. If he's not 110%, why is he out there?
It feels like he is, though.
Right.
It feels like he is. I don't think that this organization now would put him out there if he's not 100%.
Certainly.
I don't think they really care about, hey, it's a homecoming thing. If you're interested in all that, you shouldn't be. That's like honestly, of the talking points for Jaden today, the homecoming thing is like fourth on the list. Like, it's really not that high up for me. It's getting the quarterback back, and then it's some other stuff that we're going to get to here in a second. I anticipate, though, that Jaden is going to come off when it comes to accuracy. I think he's going to be better than what he was the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 weeks of the season, it felt like the accuracy from what we were anticipating to get in 2025, those were not at the same level. Like, it was, we had high expectations. It was a little bit lower, which is natural in the first couple weeks of a season. It's kind of like the preseason extended, especially because they didn't throw a single pass in the preseason game. So I'm expecting that Jaden is going to be a lot better when it comes to the accuracy, but that's going to need to rely on guys like Luke McCaffrey getting open. Because eventually, when teams start to realize that it's Debo and everybody else, they're going to do what they did to Terry last year, which is start bracketing. They're going to have guys over the top at all times and make sure that you are not going to be able to get the ball to Debo, force you to get the ball elsewhere. And elsewhere, as we've seen, has been a little bit of a struggle. So I need a guy like a Luke McCaffrey to play significantly better today. He played really well in the first half last week. I need a full game from Luke. A full game from Luke. Because he's showing sparks. And I need a fire.
Yeah. Give me all the Luke McCaffrey. And to your point, I think he seized his opportunity last weekend. I wonder who seizes their opportunity this week. Once again, no Noah Brown, no Terry McLaurin. Tay Martin, the young man that was elevated off of the practice squad, he was actually the last wide receiver signed by Washington in camp, or the second to last wide receiver signed by Washington in camp. And came up, had a catch last weekend. I thought he looked good in his action, but that is honestly, Denton, the area that I worry about today is how Washington is going to look passing the football. And I know there aren't a bunch of household names in this L.A. Chargers secondary, but there aren't a whole lot of household names in Washington's wide receiver core either. So I think that is going to be the key here. Can they loosen up this Chargers defense? Because as we saw last week, what did we say? Single high safety, man-to-man coverage across the board. Can you beat me early? And Washington's wide receivers did not do that enough against the Atlanta Falcons. If you can hit a deep shot today, I don't care who it's to, hopefully it's Jalen Lane, maybe that loosens things up and makes the intermediate passing game come to life here.
Do you think that Derwin James is going to spend a lot of time on Zach Ertz?
Oh, God. They need to know where 3 is every down.
He's their biggest playmaker on defense.
I worry about him as a blitzer. I worry about him in coverage. I worry about him talking trash.
I worry about him killing somebody over the middle. He's a hitter. He is like Derwin James, when I watch him, is very much an old school safety.
Yes.
Right? Like, he's modeled his game after Sean, after Cam Chancellor, after all of the great safeties of the generation that we witnessed growing up, of guys that are, if you're coming around my territory in the middle, this is my real estate. If you're coming here, you're getting hit.
Yeah.
And that does scare me a little bit, because he is going to be, I don't want him to take anybody's head off.
I don't either. I wonder, and they've got speed at linebacker with Hansley. And I was wondering, do they use him as a Jaden Daniels spy? Or is he too valuable of a chess piece in coverage to take him away? Because, to your point,
if he is not used as that Jaden spy, by the way, then Jaden needs to torch him. Because I don't know, it's not that they don't have athletes on that defense, but Derwin James is the best athlete on that defense. If he's going to be used elsewhere, then you have to take advantage with Jaden. I don't know that they have any other great spies for him.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we're going to find out right away. The brace that the kid's wearing is bulky. I am not sure how it's going to limit him, and we know this. He may be 110%, but with the brace, he's not going to be moving as fast. And I hate to go back to Robert Griffin III to use him as an example, because yuck. But when Robert came back with the brace, he had a limp and he was slow. So I am curious to see, full going practice all week, was that just fluff, or is he actually ready to play in an NFL game? Because I am scared, I guess is too strong. Worried is too wrong. It's too strong, rather.
Skeptical.
I'm skeptical about the health of this kid, and I have PTSD. I can see it now. And I'm not prepared, and God forbid it happens while we're here at Honor Brewing. They may never invite us back.
I would be terrified, but I don't think that's going to happen. I did see something hilarious on social media before we came here of Jaden photoshopped onto Stone Cold Steve Austin when Stone Cold Steve Austin had those big braces on, and I, as a wrestling mark, that certainly was right up my alley. Final thing here on Jaden before we transition to the defense, because the defense is a massive storyline for Washington, going up against a Jim Harbaugh coached offense and going up against a quarterback in Justin Herbert, where it looks like in 2025 the what-ifs are finally becoming reality. There was news off the field this week. You talked to me last week about how you bet on the Chiefs, and Chris Jones in particular, because Chris Jones had some stuff that he dealt with in his personal life, and then you take that and transition it to the field. Jaden Daniels obviously played at LSU, was very good friends with Kyron Lacey, and we finally got a revelation in the Kyron Lacey case that Kyron Lacey very much was innocent in something that was a tragic situation that became even more tragic because it caused Kyron Lacey to take his own life. How do you think that Jaden plays from an emotional standpoint, understanding that he's going out there for his guy? And I bring that up, too, because, I'm a college football guy. Another LSU player who transferred to Miami, C.J. Daniels, had the tape with the KL2. I think it was just KL2. There's KL2 for life. I'm very curious and very, excited is probably not the right word, but I know that Jaden's going to go out there and play very, very well to kind of play for his guy. So I'm excited to see what he's going to look like today to honor the memory of his guy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with that. It's something that I know the entire Tigers family is dealing with right now, and obviously your thoughts and prayers go out to them. But to your point, it could be that extra spark that lights a fire under Jaden Daniels today, and quite frankly, he needs it. In the first two games of the season that we saw him, and I know we've been pretty honest in recapping that, he wasn't very good. He's got a sub 60% completion percentage right now. When under pressure this season, he's only completing 52% of his passes. So he's got to play well here this afternoon. To your point, he's got a little bit of extra motivation. I hope we get to see the Jaden Daniels that led this group to the NFC Championship game last year, because I'll say the quiet part out loud, that quarterback, we haven't seen him yet in 2025.
And I'm hoping today is the day, because he's going to need it. If last week was any sign of what this defense actually is, Washington is in trouble. We're going to break down the defense, how they can have success today against the Chargers when we get back. Can they have success today against the Chargers when we get back? He's the No Willingham. I'm Denton. It's a Burgundy Gold pregame show live from Honor Brewing in Sterling on 106.7 The Fan of the Team 980. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham. We are live from Honor Brewery in Sterling. Come out for some game day specials. They got some Halloween specials as well. We got a big skeleton that's looking down on us, Lynnell. So if you're into the spooky stuff, come hang out with us for the game. We'll be here for the entirety. We got a live halftime show on Twitter and YouTube. We got a live post-game show on Twitter and YouTube as well. Biggest issue last week, Lynnell, was the defense. Have they fixed all of the issues?
Are you asking me that seriously?
I mean,
come on. I mean, it's impossible to fix all of the issues.
Are the issues, have you, in watching the game back twice, multiple times, however many times you watched it, was this more of just terrible tackling and guys not being in position, or was this more schematic? Because the big back and forth this entire week is this all on Joe Witt? Is this partially on Joe Witt? Is it not on Joe Witt? And it feels like everyone falls somewhere in between those spectrums.
Yeah, I would say it was what you said initially. Terrible tackling, terrible execution by the defense. I don't think Joe Witt is at fault at all, really, for what happened last week. They're busting coverages left and right. You're not getting a pass rush and getting after the quarterback enough when you play man-to-man. And then when you go zone, you're busting coverages all over the place. So for me, when it comes to Joe Witt, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. What is he supposed to call? Like, as a defensive coordinator, right? So it's frustrating. I think my bigger disappointment from going back and watching last week was the play of Daron Payne and Javon Kinlaw on the interior and this entire defensive front. In 2 of the first 4 weeks when they've won, the D-line has dominated the matchup. They were mollywopped on Sunday by the Falcons. Matthew Bergeron throwing people out of the club all afternoon long. All afternoon long, Daron Payne was on skates. All afternoon long, Javon Kinlaw was on skates, and then the missed tackles that you saw from our defensive linemen as well was really disheartening. Just one of those games where you want to burn the tape. I don't think they showed anything good on tape defensively, outside of a couple of Frankie Louvru run stuffs.
So is the fix then simply you just have to tackle better and you just have to do your job better, or is there some adjustments that Joe Witt needs to do to put guys in position to be better?
The one area where I can say maybe Joe Witt can do more is sending pressure. They blitzed just 28% of the time last week, and it showed by, how comfortable Michael Penix was throughout the course of that football game. The only thing that Joe Witt can possibly do is turn up the pressure a little bit more and send more than 5 guys on a consistent basis and try to blitz. But, when you do that, you're taking guys out of coverage, rather. So you're more susceptible to giving up these big plays, which has been your issue. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. On first and second down last weekend, Washington played well defensively. They're giving up second and long chunk plays. They're giving up third and long chunk plays.
And they're giving up penalties.
Yeah.
And really just giving new sets of downs for free. And it was way too often last week. Last week it felt like it was when it really came to a head. Like I didn't recognize it against Vegas. I didn't recognize it against Green Bay. I don't think they were nearly as bad on third downs in terms of just giving up penalties on those particular matchups. So I don't know if it was something that Atlanta did, if it was just one of those games where everybody was off. But Lattimore's been getting crushed this entire week. Some of it is justified. But I know that he is better. That's the thing that has been the most frustrating about the Lattimore experience, is that I know that he can be better. He's just not being better, and he looks a lot more like Josh Norman in years 3-4 here than he did Josh Norman in 1 and 2. Where I kind of hoped he'd look a little bit like Josh Norman did.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I actually got the chance to chat with him in the locker room on Wednesday, and off the record conversation. Didn't tape it. Just wanted to get his truth, and the accountability factor's there with him. He's recognizing that his boo-boos are coming on significant downs, and that's why it's kind of being put under the microscope. But he took onus for the entire secondary, speaking for them as a whole, saying, we just got to execute. Joe's calling the plays. They're designed to stop folks. We got to do our assignment. Joe Witt spoke about it on Thursday, and I thought he was as candid as he had been all year in terms of guys wearing capes is the phrase that he used it. And I had an old ball coach that said the play doesn't care who makes it. Just do your 111th. And I think Washington right now defensively is trying to overcompensate for trying to force turnovers, in my opinion.
So this matchup is going to be maybe beneficial to Washington because what was otherwise a really good offensive line with Los Angeles is down their 2 best players. Joe Alt is not going to play today. Rashawn Slater has not played this entire season due to an injury that happened literally like 2 days after he signed his contract extension. Washington has been really good against bad offensive lines. Are you anticipating a similar performance with Daron Payne and Javon Kinlaw in particular being significantly better? Because it feels like those are the two guys that really happen to excel against lesser offensive lines.
They have to, Denton, or else there is no way that they're going to be able to stop this offense. One, I'm scared crapless about Omarion Hampton and what he's able to do on the ground. But this receiving core has got three dudes that are playing as good as anybody right now. Talking about McConkey, Keenan Allen, and his second act as a Charger has been going Kanye crazy.
The TCU guy worries
and
me.
then Quentin Johnston looks like TCU Quentin Johnston, taking the top off of defenses, making contested catches. The key for this Commanders defense, though, is going to be getting after Justin Herbert. He is the most pressured quarterback in the National Football League. He's the third most sacked quarterback in the National Football League, and I decided to write some numbers down, Denton, because it meant that much to me. When he is pressured, he is 21 of 55 for 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. That is a 38% completion percentage when he is pressured. So that's the key here this afternoon. If you were able to get him off of his spot and make him uncomfortable, I think you'll have some success here defensively.
Well, that's a what-if for Justin Herbert that I would like to see today. What if you get pressure on Justin Herbert? He's going to look a lot like that and not like the guy that tore up the Kansas City Chiefs or the guy that otherwise has been a really good quarterback this year. And you mentioned the wide receivers. I think the thing with Los Angeles in particular, they have this worse than anybody. The injury bug bites their wide receivers every single year. I mean, it's like going back to the days of like Chris Chambers, right?
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago, every single every single year they have a massive injury or a segment of injuries to the wide receivers. You got to play better against them today, and it's not just Lattimore. You know, Mikey had a pick last week. Mikey needs to play with more confidence. Yeah. Because the dog that we saw at the end of last year is not the player that we are seeing right now. And we know that it's in there. Like when he was at the end of the year last year, he was, I thought, the best defensive player on the back end of the defense. You know, obviously Luvu was the best defensive player, I thought, period. But Mikey was the best defensive player on the back end, and we just haven't seen that version of him. I think if he gets playing with more confidence, if Lattimore, as you mentioned, can start to execute and he starts playing with more confidence, I'm not worried about Trey Amos. Not worried about him at all. His confidence level is fine. It's just those other two, you need to play as a collective unit. And if you can't do that and you can't get pressure on Justin Herbert today, you're going to be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, they just can't keep blowing coverages in the back end the way that they have been, man. It really comes down to that. The one thing that was different against Atlanta versus the other games this year is Washington's highest percentage of zone coverage looks. So they're trying to, people are screaming online, hey, Joe Witt Jr. this, Joe Witt Jr. that, he doesn't make adjustments. They want to live in man-to-man coverage. He has recognized that his personnel is probably not built for man-to-man coverage down in, down out. So you're seeing them sprinkle in a little bit more zone, and they're running some pressure looks behind it, but, like, they're blowing those too. So I wonder what the mentality is going to be here this afternoon, because if you're just asking, do I think Amos, Lattimore, and Sainristil could just go out and win in man coverage against the receivers of the Chargers? Hell no. Well, I mean, who would think that? Yeah. I don't even think they believe that.
They certainly haven't shown that through the first four or 5 weeks of the season. Yeah. Finally, last week, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu played 100% of snaps. We did not see Jordan McGee. We did not see Kane Moderno, Ali Ko, despite the fact that all of those guys were active for the first time this year. Do you believe that changes today? Will we see some of those young linebackers on what is an obvious passing down? So if they need to play in coverage or kind of run side to side, they can do that, because it was very clear last week that, look, man, Bobby's a great player. That's a Hall of Famer right there. He's old. He's old.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I expected to change, if I'm being honest. This is who they've been. They've shown a clear reluctance to play the gentleman that you just mentioned. I'm tired of chasing the ghost of Jordan McGee. I mean, we talked about him all summer long. We talked about him all spring long.
I just want to see him play at this point, like, for the love of God.
Convince me that the young man knows how to play tackle football. That's all I want to know. Like, he's been a special teams war daddy, so I'll give him that. He's been awesome on teams, but to your point, they can certainly use his speed defensively right now, man, especially on the obvious passing downs. My wonder is this: is there another guy on Washington's defense that has the level of understanding and being able to line people up like Bobby? Because if they can't, they're blowing coverages with Bobby being the green dot guy. If you take Bobby off the field, how much worse is the communication on the defense?
I would hope that Quan Martin would be your answer there. He's played in the system now. I think he's been, from a mentality standpoint, he handled a lot of the stuff last year with the defense, I thought, really, really well and playing while injured. So I would hope that if they need to take Bobby off of the field, that Quan Martin would be able to take some of those responsibilities and make the life a little bit easier for the defense. When we get back, we'll start to give you some of our keys to a win for Washington. We're hanging out at Honor Brewing in Sterling. They got game day specials. They got Halloween specials. If you need a place to come watch the game, come hang out with us. We're about 2 hours away from tip-off. Kevin Sheehan's going to join us in 30 minutes' time. He's the No Willingham. I'm Denton Day. Don't go anywhere. Is the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. We are live in Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us. They got great game day specials. It's October, so they got some Halloween specials as well. Real quick, Lynnell, before we get into our keys to a win for Washington, a quick scoreboard update from the 1 o'clock games. The Saints and the Giants are locked up in a thriller, honestly.
Yeah.
The Giants are leading the Saints 14-13. That's Jackson Dart versus Spencer Rattler. I mean, who doesn't want to watch that one on a Sunday? The Texans up big over the Ravens 24-3. C.J. Stroud, my fantasy quarterback, is finally playing well against a really bad defense. The Eagles and Broncos just went to halftime. That one's 10-3. Dallas up 23-3 over the Jets. The Colts up 20-3 over the Raiders. Boy, the Raiders stink.
Yeah, they're not a good football team.
And the Dolphins are up 17-10 over the Panthers. So those are all the 1 o'clock games. We saw earlier today that Minnesota beat Cleveland. Shout out to Carson Wentz. Congratulations, son. Getting redemption against Cleveland. It would have been nice if he played that well years ago, but I digress. Let's get to some keys to a victory for Washington here, Lynnell. They need to bounce back. They did not play well against Atlanta last week. We left the other Honor Brewing location very, very upset. I would like to leave here a lot happier.
Yeah, key number one and the ultimate key to me is, can you get after Justin Herbert? Can you make him uncomfortable? He has been pressured a league-high 73 times. He's the fourth most sacked quarterback in the NFL, and the numbers when under pressure are staggering, right? On the season, he's completing 64% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. When under pressure, though, gave these numbers earlier, 21-55 for 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but the completion percentage drops to 38%. Meaning he can't function under pressure. So, Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, front four, go to work.
Get after him. Yeah. They played really well against offensive lines that are not very good, and the Chargers are banged up right now. They got eaten alive last week by the New York Giants. Now, New York has a great defensive front. There's no denying that. But I do think that a guy like Deron Payne and Javon Kinlaw can really have success today against a banged-up offensive line, and then somebody on the edge has to make some plays. Please. I'd like it if Von Miller could look like he's 32 rather than 36 the way that he is, because he still has a little bit of athleticism and bend there. I just need to see him get after the quarterback a little bit more. So I like that one a lot. I'm going to take the offensive approach here.
Okay.
They got to run the football.
Yes.
It should be running the football as the primary identity for Washington. You do not have Terry McLaurin. You do not have Noah Brown. You need to get after them when it comes to the Chargers defense in the trenches. Get everybody involved. I want to see a lot of carries for Jacory Krosky-Merritt. Get him into double-digit carries for the first time this year. Priority of running the football, exotic smash-mouth football, shall we say, but get the offensive line moving downhill. And in the event where defensively you're not playing well, the best defense is a good offense. Keep Justin Herbert a borderline top 5, 3, whatever quarterback. Keep him off of the field as much as possible.
I think that's going to be the key. I worry about this secondary and how quickly they're going to be able to overcome their communication issues. I mean, it was bad last week, and I hope that this defensive front can make life easier for the secondary, because they're going to need all the help they can get.
That they will. God, I'm worried about that. All right, your second key.
Yeah, my second key goes to the offensive side of the football, and it's on Cliff. Listen to all rap music today. Word to Doc Walker. I need him to...
Nothing but 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah,
Cliff.
Be in your bag, call an aggressive game, take your shots down the field, but ultimately it's about getting this running game going for the Washington Commanders. If you can get some shots off of play action against this Chargers defense, then maybe you'll be able to have some success. But I don't see the passing game being able to get going without the running game.
I'm in agreement with that. I think you're going to have to be able to run the football if you want to keep the Chargers defense honest.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a little bit of a discrepancy talent-wise on the outside. We have not seen guys outside of Deebo Samuel be really good at getting separation. Maybe this is the day that Jalen Lane becomes that guy. Maybe this is the day that Luke McCaffrey becomes that guy, but we need to see it. My second key, I'm staying with the offense. I maybe should have made this one my first key, but I am very passionate about running the football. I need Jane Daniels to not press.
Yeah.
This is his first game back in 2 weeks. He made it very clear that he has wanted to play the last 2 weeks. He was not happy when he was talking to the media about having not played the last 2 weeks. The worst thing that could happen is that he comes out here and tries to do a little bit too much. Tries to be, as Joe Witt said, put on that cape just a little bit too soon. We know that he's capable of doing so, and he's a badass competitor. All of that is true. But I just want him to be a little bit more comfortable in terms of what they're doing on offense and not just come out here and say, well, I have to do everything, because that's kind of what got him hurt in the first place. So I want Jaden to play his best football, and that best football is a little bit more controlled, not just pressing, go, go, go.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And look, it's going to be hard to keep him reeled in, so to speak. I think he's going to let it rip. I think he's going to run the football and try to be the guy that we all know he's capable of being. To your point, though, like, take the plays that are there, right? Take what the defense gives you. Chargers play a ton of zone. They play a lot of cover three. There are going to be some balls to go in the flat. Get it out. Stay ahead of the sticks offensively. Keep this offense on schedule to the best of your ability, and the rest will kind of play itself out and work itself out, because the kid can play.
Yeah, he can play. We know that. I also want to see special teams thrive again.
Yeah.
The special teams has been the most consistent unit to this point for Washington. That's with Debo. That's with Luke. That's with Jalen Lane. Like, it's all of those guys. They're popping them off in the return game. I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that can drastically shift the game. Obviously, it flips fields. It gives your offense a short field. So I'd love to see another, or maybe a couple more explosive plays in the special teams games, in the return game in particular. Especially, like in the punt game specifically, Lynnell, if you're going to do a good enough job defensively to force the Chargers to punt, it would be very nice if the special teams then rewards you for that good defense and gets themselves a big play.
Yeah, Jalen Lane has been huge. Last weekend, though, had 2 muffs, and it's something that I'm worried about. It's something that I'm monitoring, I guess. Maybe worried about is too strong. But it's something that
It's something we're paying attention to.
Yeah, it definitely didn't go unnoticed. But to your point, what has gone noticed, what has been glaringly obvious, is that kid, when he catches it, is as dynamic as
blazing
anybody.
speed.
I mean, he's the real deal. And I feel like, at some point he's going to make a play offensively. Right now, though, I know one thing.
Today would be a great day for that.
Yeah. He's going to give it to you on special teams, though. So hopefully somebody can dial up a shot for him.
Sorry, I cut you off. You were going to keep going there.
No, I just think if they don't show a clear ability to even have a desire to push it vertically, they're going to struggle. What I think you saw last week that was a really good sign is Debo Samuel winning on a vertical route. Maybe he could be the guy that replaces Terry McLaurin as the deep threat here, because I just don't know if any of the other guys are up to the challenge. If Debo can be the over-the-top guy, I trust Luke McCaffrey working underneath. I trust Jalen Lane working underneath, so on and so forth. So we need a deep shot.
They're going to, because the most embarrassing thing a couple of weeks ago against Green Bay was when they knew defensively you're not going deep.
Yeah.
You're just sitting down. I mean, there was a couple of times where DBs for the Packers ran routes for Noah Brown. And I say that loosely because that's just the phrase. They actually didn't do any running.
Yeah.
they just stood at the sticks and were like, you're not coming past here. We know you're not, so I'm just going to sit right here, and then I'm going to break up the play. You need to give a little bit of fear in their heart to be like, hey, we might hit you deep here, so you can't do that. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
I've been making that example for 3 weeks now. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. I think for this group to continue to build some confidence here, because that's the whole thing. Like, you scored 27 last week. I will give you that. Like, you put up 27. The pass game wasn't very good, but you put up 27.
27 in a, air quotes, lackluster, air quotes, performance is impressive.
Very impressive. And I just hope, the one thing that sucked last week and felt like changed the game was the turnover. I hope, Jaden can avoid that, something he was really good with last year. Was he picked in the Packers game?
I don't think he was. I don't think he has a turnover this year.
Yeah.
That's something that he's been really good at. But I also, some of it is a little bit, I wonder, because if you remember last year, he wasn't picked for like the first 5 weeks of the season, but he also wasn't throwing into like massively tight windows, and it felt like he was not fearful, but he was a little bit too cautious. I would prefer him to go out there. And if Cliff is going to say, hey, I need you to let it rip, and the offense needs you to let it rip so you can make plays down the field, so you can extend a little bit, then I'd prefer him to go out there and make it and let it rip a little bit. I don't want to be fearful. He was not picked. He doesn't have an interception yet this year in the 3 games. So his touchdown interception ratio for Jaden has been fantastic at 3-0, but his QBR is 34. That's not good.
The completions were hard to come by against the Packers. And I gave you the numbers for Justin Herbert when he's been under pressure. Jaden Daniels' numbers in terms of the splits when he holds the football 2.5 seconds or longer, good things do not happen. Getting the ball out of his hands quickly, I think, is going to be one of the most important things that we see here this afternoon. His completion percentage drops to the mid-40s when he holds the ball, or excuse me, the high 50s rather. I think it's right around 53% when he has to hold the ball longer than 2.5 seconds. They forced him to do that a ton against the Packers, and that's kind of my number one concern for today. Jesse Minter, another guy like Coach Hafley for the Packers that has that collegiate background when it comes to scheming up against these collegiate-like offenses, and I wonder if they're going to force Jaden Daniels to hold the football. The one thing I will say, there's no Khalil Mack, there's no Micah Parsons, so maybe playing zone gets you burned today? I don't know.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. All right, when we get back, we'll give you a player to lock in on. Kevin Sheehan is going to join us at the top of the hour at 3 p.m. It is the Burgundy and Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham. We are live at Honor Brewing in Sterling. They got great game day specials. They got some Halloween specials you can take advantage of as well. So come hang out with us. We're here for the entirety of the game. And as always, we got a halftime show live on YouTube and Twitter. We got a post-game show that'll be live on YouTube and Twitter as well. Don't go anywhere. The Burgundy and Gold pregame show continues. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham. We are live from Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us. They got great game day specials on food and drinks. They got a Halloween menu as well, Lynnell. I might have to dabble into some of this. It's spooky season around these parts. We got a big skeleton hanging up above our heads here. Kevin Sheehan is going to join us in 10 minutes here on the program. The best case scenario for Washington today is what? Walk me through it. Your dream scenario, what takes place?
Dream scenario?
And has Washington winning. Well, let me say, how about realistic dream scenario? Don't be like they win 52-0. I don't want that. But
as the Eagles just scored a bomb to Saquon Barkley. The dream scenario is that the run game gets going. Jaden Daniels is a part of that. They're able to eat clock and keep Justin Herbert and company off the field. The best case scenario from like a point scoring standpoint to me, it's like 24.
That's
24
it.
points. I mean, look at what the Chargers have given up this year. I mean, I don't think they've given up 24 points yet.
I don't think they played an offense, though, as good as Washington.
For sure. I think.
Especially when it comes to running the football.
And then that goes back to the idea of, well, how good is this Washington offense minus Terry McLaurin? I know you put up 27 last week, but it was your fewest amount of offensive plays run since 2022. They could not control time of possession. They were 1 for 8 on third down. So I think winning the early downs is going to be huge, getting your run game going. Jaden Daniels makes a couple of highlight runs to make the people in attendance feel good that are from his hometown, and you get ready for a big Monday night game against Chicago.
Best case scenario today for Washington, ideal scenario today for Washington is that Jaden finds the end zone at least once with his legs. I think we're going to see a version of Jaden Daniels that I believe we have been clamoring for since this season started, since we had the expectations put on us of last year, and this quarterback being the one that took them to an NFC Championship game for the first time in over 30 years. I have a feeling that because he was robbed of playing the last 2 weeks, and I'll use the term robbed very loosely here because I think it was smart that he didn't play, but in his mind and listening to him talk, it was very much, I want to play, they're not letting me play. I think he's going to come out here and you're going to see the best version of him. Now he's going to need a little bit of help. These wide receivers have to win their matchups on the outside and give him windows to throw into, but I think you'll see a version of Jaden Daniels that is far more accurate than what he was in the first 2 weeks of the season. And then defensively, I think more than anything, they're just not going to screw it up. And that's kind of what you need them to do at this point. If Jaden is playing at a high level, all you have to do as a defense is just please don't screw it up. Don't let guys be running butt naked wide open in the secondary. Yeah. Please don't get mossed by Quentin Johnston. I think Mikey can handle Quentin Johnston. He handled A.J. Brown when they played A.J. Brown 3 times last year. But I just don't want to see these wide receivers become a terror in the backfield of Washington. I don't want to have the same Joe Witt conversations this entire upcoming week as we did this week. I'd very much like to put that in the rearview mirror for at least a calendar week.
In the fact that the month of September is over, I've run out of excuses. We expected them to get off to a slow start. Like I said, getting out of the month 2-2, I thought was a big win when you consider all the injuries that Washington suffered. But now it's October, right? Now you're worked up a lather. You've built the callus.
Yeah, no more preseason excuses.
Exactly, which means to me the mistakes in the secondary should definitely be dialed back. I get it, though, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. They have major issues right now defensively that I don't think are necessarily fixable in 1 week. What will help out this secondary, and this is going to be my kind of harping point for the remainder of the afternoon, the remainder of the season, really, man. This D-line has to be the catalyst for the defense. They have to make things go. If they can game wreck, if they could get after opposing teams' quarterbacks, I think you'll see this group be able to have a ton of success. But if not, I think the secondary will look similarly to what it's looked like the first month here.
So if I pull up a gambling book, a sports book, hold on, it's loading. If I pull up a sports book and find these Jaden Daniels odds on an anytime touchdown, right?
I wonder what they are.
Right now the Commanders are 3-point dogs against Los Angeles. That's pretty self-explanatory considering that they're on the road. That is usually what a road team is in the NFL. But if I pull up an anytime touchdown score on for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels anytime touchdowns 3-1. Is that something that interests you? Debo has the best odds at plus 150. No one on the Commanders is minus money. Omar and Hampton, the only player that's minus money. But a 3-1 odds on Jaden Daniels to score a touchdown in his first game back from injury, in his first game as a professional playing in California, and in his first game since a revelation of sorts that his friend and former teammate was innocent, and now they are honoring him, or at least the LSU fans are honoring him, and the LSU players have been honoring him this entire week with Kyron Lacey. I think Jaden Daniels at 3-1 anytime touchdown is not a lock, because I hate that word, but it's as close to one as possible.
I would agree. It feels like, he gets up for the big games, but I'll be real, I felt this way against the Packers, and he completely wet the bed. So I don't know what to expect from the quarterback. As we get closer to kickoff, to me, I feel, I don't want to say less confident, but I feel more unsure of what we're going to see from him today. If he was rusty in the first 2 weeks of the season because he didn't get to play in the preseason, you don't think he's going to be rusty today after having to sit for 2 consecutive weeks? That's my concern. What is the level of rust that he has, and how quickly are they able to shake it off?
I'm actually, you know what? Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not. There's something about him where I feel like he is going to come out and he is going to be his best version today. All right, when we get back, speaking of best versions, my best friend, Kevin Sheehan, is going to join us here. He's done at Willingham. I'm Denton Day. We're at Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us for the game. We're under 2 hours away from kickoff, about 90 minutes from kickoff here. We'll have the inactives for you when we get back as well. It's a Burgundy Gold pregame show on 106.7 The Fan. Less than 90 minutes from kickoff. Commanders and Chargers out in Los Angeles. I'm Denton Day. He is Lynnell Willingham. It's your Burgundy Gold pregame show on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. We are live from Honor Brewing in Sterling. They got great game day specials. They got a Halloween menu you can come enjoy. Come hang out with us if you need a place to watch the game. We're going to be here for the entirety of it. We got our live halftime show. We got our live postgame show as well. It'll be streamed on both Twitter and YouTube. In just a second, we will get to Kevin Sheehan, but the Commanders have released their official inactive report, Lynnell. A couple of not surprises on here, and then for the third consecutive week, Brandon Coleman is on here. So no Josh Johnson. He's going to be your emergency third quarterback. No Terry McLaurin. We knew that. No Ali Cahoe or Kane Moderno. So the UCLA guys are taking a break this week. No Brandon Coleman, which is a surprise, but we also kind of knew. And then no Noah Brown, which we knew. But that does mean for the first time in 2025 that Preston Smith is going to play. They need to get better at the edge. Maybe Preston Smith can have a redemption game here in Washington today and get after Justin Herbert.
That is the hope. I know we've done this every week. Is Brandon Coleman just going to be inactive the entirety of the season? Like, I am still baffled by that whole situation.
We haven't gotten any real clarity as to why either, which has been confusing.
Yeah. Injury is all we know. I will say this. Preston Smith has a chance to make an impact here. He is going to play. You're going up against backup tackles. He is a pro's pro. I think you hear his name called once or twice here.
All right, let's get to Kevin Sheehan. He is the host of the Kevin Sheehan Show every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on the Team 980. Are you optimistic, Kevin, that maybe Preston Smith can make a couple of plays this afternoon?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him in a game, and he hasn't been here for that long. But I'm optimistic about a chance defensively to be good at the line of scrimmage this week. I mean, the Chargers were literally, pushed backwards last week by a much better defense. I'll concede that, the Giant defense. But the two teams that they've had some success defensively against have had issues along their offensive line, and I think it starts there today on defense, and then on offense, you got to possess the football, and you got a shot to do that with Jaden back.
I'm excited to see Jaden Daniels back, Kevin. What do these numbers mean to you, though? In the two games this season that we've seen Jaden Daniels, when he's held the football longer than 2.5 seconds, it's a 52% completion percentage. When it's out in 2.5 seconds or less, it's above 60. How important is it to get the ball out of his hands quickly today?
Well, very quickly, but you could say that almost about any quarterback. The ball in today's NFL has to come out quickly. Holding it is really dangerous. You can't wait against good defensive teams, against good schemes for down the field, routes to develop, which is why first and second down is so important, to stay out of those long distance situations. But remember, we've only seen him in 2 games. And one of those games was a short, quick turnaround against a team that was really awesome that night defensively. You watch this Giant defense, the last couple of weeks, guys, and even today, I think that first game was a pretty decent game for Jaden in the offense. There were just too many penalties. That's essentially what ended up costing them a 30-point-plus day that would have made everybody not even talk about that game. But looking forward to him being back. It's going to be interesting to see what he looks like physically. But, they've got a guy that, obviously they rode to 14 wins last year, and they need him back starting today against his team.
Kevin, last week, the only wide receiver or tight end, for that matter, that had more than 2 catches was Deebo Samuel. It was him and everybody else. Do you think that anyone else steps up this week to have more and be able to make plays deeper into the game?
I mean, I hope Deebo's good, and apparently he is, and it's good that he's playing, because that would have been, imagine you going with just Chris Moore, Luke McCaffrey, and Jalen Lane. But, offensively, when it's not been in rhythm in the construct of the play, it's never hurt this particular offense with this quarterback. In fact, sometimes that creates the biggest opportunities. But I'd like to see them run the football today, guys. I think that the Chargers this year have played a lot of deeper, cover 2, dime, nickel on early downs. I think that's an invitation to run the football. I think it's something that actually maybe this team does well. They just haven't done it enough. They did it against the Raiders. What better way to possess the ball, protect the quarterback back in his first, game back than run it? And I'd love to see Krosky merit, but if it's Rodriguez, that's fine too, because I think he can run it and control the clock also.
I definitely agree with you. The run game has to be huge for Washington today. How invested are you in Jayden Daniels being a part of this rushing attack? I've said it all week, Kev. If he's going to play, I want you to use him like you would use him pre-injury. Do you think Cliff Kingsbury and this offense have that mentality this afternoon?
If they don't, then he shouldn't be playing. If he can't, and Cliff said it the other day, he said he wouldn't be in there if he couldn't be Jayden Daniels, and he's going to be Jayden Daniels. You have to have all of Jayden there today, or why are you playing him in week 5? Because if it's not all him, then he's not 100%. And, Mariota has been fine. He was excellent in the Raider game for sure. I expect him to be a part of everything today, Lynnell, including the run game against a team that is pretty good defensively.
Speaking of defense, it was not a great performance last week for Washington, as I'm sure your phone lines were jammed with calls about Joe Witt, calling for his job. Do you believe that his seat is hot going into this matchup?
I don't think so, but I think a couple of more games like last week and a couple of, lack of sort of, taking some level of it on himself. I mean, he put it all on everybody else in his Thursday presser. And by the way, I'm not saying that he's wrong. It certainly could be all players, all execution, and they're being coached up to do everything well. But I think 2 or 3 of those like last week, and in most situations, I think you'd expect something to happen. But I would bet Denton before that, if it continues to happen, we would probably get personnel changes before something like Dan Quinn taking play calling back, as an example.
It's going to be the key to this afternoon's contest, Kevin, is can you keep this Chargers offense from getting vertical? They've, really opened up their passing attack this year more than what they did last year, and I think it has a lot to do with Quentin Johnston really emerging. Who in their receiving core gives you the heebie-jeebies the most, Kevin? Is it Quentin Johnston?
He certainly is catching footballs this year, which is new for him. I love Keenan Allen. I've always loved Keenan Allen. And, because they've got issues up front, that ball's going to be coming out much quicker for them as well. So that would be something that I would like to see. I don't want to see easy pitch and catch. You might be able today to play some man coverage. You got to communicate better, and you got to get pressure. But I think their best defense, guys, like it was last year, in a game like today's game, is going to be their offense. I'm more encouraged about just the idea of maybe having a better defensive day than they had last week at the line of scrimmage, but still, their best defense last year was their offense, and we're kind of developing the same level of identity with this team too. They've got to be able to possess it, score with it. 28th in time of possession right now through 4 games. Last year, 7th for the season. So they got to get back to that.
Is there a magic number in your head today that if Washington scores X amount of points that they're going to win the football game?
Not with this defense.
Yeah, 38. No, I think something like 27 in a quick moving, lower possession game where you're possessing it offensively. Those are usually the keys to turnovers and longer, multiple possession or over the average games end up being higher scoring. So if you don't turn it over and you possess it and you keep it on long drives, 27 seems like a number that gets in there.
I hope they get to 27. I just think it's going to be tough for this offense to move the football. When you look at this rushing attack for Washington, And to me, with Cliff, Kevin, it's been even dating back to last year. We've had these conversations of does he have the patience to stick with it when it's not working. Last week he did it again, Kevin. Last week I thought they did it again. There was no excuse for Washington to stop running the football. The game was never out of reach to where you had to go away from your rushing attack. I believe it is a lifestyle choice, and I'm still wondering whether or not Cliff is okay with them being a run-first team, because that's what they should be.
Have you seen how cool he is? I think his lifestyle is pretty good right now. But I mean, you and I are on the same page, and it's one of those things. Every time I do it over the years, and I do it over and over again, but I always cringe because people in those positions are like, "Oh, listen to these yutzes, criticizing play calling. They have no idea." But man, at 7.5 yards per carry for Rodriguez and Krosky-Merritt last week, I felt like more than 7 carries per seemed like it would have made more sense. And maybe they can do it today. It's going to be, I think we're going to see something early in the game. See if the Chargers do actually kind of load up the box expecting that, which would be different for them this year because they played light boxes on early downs. And if they do that, I want them to run the football. If they load it, it'll be interesting because then they're saying, go ahead, 5, beat us from the pocket with the receivers you have today. And I think we'll see that early, the choice that they make defensively.
Kevin, and rewatching the Chargers game this week, I mean, what has stood out to you about number 3, Derwin James? I feel like he is going to be a big, big factor today.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Tart's really good. They've got some good players on defense. They have good players on offense, too. I mean, they're just banged up along the offensive line, but they're skill position players. Hampton had his breakout game last week, too. But, yeah, Derwin James is special. And, in passing situations, he's a slot corner and can really cover. So that's the problem today, right? If you don't stay ahead of the chains and you're in third and passing situations with the receivers that you don't have out there today, that could be a problem. Although, as long as Superman's back there playing quarterback, things happen, and we saw that all last year, even in bad down and distances. So I don't count him out, but that's a situation today you don't really want to be in.
All right, Kevin, what you got, man? Are you picking Washington to get back above 500?
I am. Denton knows this. The minute the injuries piled up and the line didn't move from 2.5, 3, I like us to cover for sure, and I like us to win the game, something like 27-24 since I gave you the 27.
Yeah, they're definitely the right side. Kevin, we appreciate the time as always. Looking forward to your breakdown tomorrow.
Appreciate you.
All right, boys. Thanks.
That is Kevin Sheehan of the Kevin Sheehan Show, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on the Team 980. He joins us each and every week on the Burgundy and Gold pregame show. He is Lynnell Willingham. I am Denton Day. Lynnell, before we get to the Junkies, Derwin James, is he the best safety in the NFL? I was thinking about that as we were talking with Kevin, and I was trying to come up with who would be a better safety right now in the NFL. But he is, if he's not the best, he's certainly in the conversation.
I definitely think he is. And the reason that I think he's so special, normally with safeties in today's day and age that can run and hit the way that James can, there's some, lacking in the coverage area. He is just as good as a cover guy as he is as a big hitter, as a tackler.
I mean, he'll be in the box. I look at Kyle Hamilton, and Kyle Hamilton is sensational with Baltimore, but I do think that when it comes to hitting, Derwin James likes to hit a little bit more than Kyle Hamilton. I'm excited about them going up against the best safety in the NFL, but I'm also nervous because, oh my God, they're going up against the best safety in the NFL.
Right. So
now, in today's NFL, though, it is odd because safeties aren't nearly as big of a factor as they were when we were growing up. Like, you don't have the Ed Reeds and Troy Polamalu's, Brian Dawkins, Sean, etc. But I feel like going up against a truly great safety is something that you always have to be able to game plan for.
Yeah, for sure. And they're going to use him in a bunch of different ways. I think Kevin talked about staying ahead of the chains. I think it's even more important to stay ahead of the chains so you neutralize Derwin James' impact as a blitzer, because you're not going to send him on, the third and long situations. I think you're going to send him on those downs where you're in that third and medium area.
Right.
And that's where he's been able to have a ton of success. I'm curious as to how they use him because I look at their linebacking core. They've got a ton of speed, but he is the guy. He is the chess piece. So I wonder, what his impact is today. But I definitely know this: you got to figure out where the hell he's at.
You certainly do. When we get back, we'll give you an update on scores around the NFL, including the Denver Broncos failing miserably against the Philadelphia Eagles to put up points. He's the Willingham. I am Denton Day. We're live at Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us. If you need a place to watch the game, they got great game day specials on food and drinks. They got Halloween specials with a Halloween menu. They got a bunch of great Halloween decorations up as well. You'll hear from the sports junkies and their thoughts on this game when we get back. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980 live at Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us for the game day specials on food and drink. You just heard from Kevin Sheehan. Kevin Sheehan predicted that Washington was going to come away with a win. I spent that entire commercial break, Lynnell, putting in some bets. So I'm going to share those with the people at some point before we kick off here. But now it's time to hear from the boys in the morning. The Junkies giving their thoughts on this game if Washington can get back in the win column.
All right, boys. Commanders, Chargers, both teams coming off a loss. Washington heads to Los Angeles, take on a Chargers team that just lost to the Giants 21-18, and they're banged up without their two starting tackles.
Yeah, look, it's exciting. Jaden's making his return. I hope we see the Jaden of 2024, not the one that started the first two games. It was kind of kind of so-so. And the problem is, the defense, which we thought was so much better, is giving up so many explosive plays, Cakes. There's just so many question marks around this game.
Yeah, they give up so many chunk plays on defense, and this is the road trip to Atlanta part 2. But this road trip is longer, and I think it's against a better opponent who, let's be honest, laid an egg against the Giants last week. So you think Harbaugh and Greg Roman aren't going to have this team ready to take on the Commanders, try to rectify what happened against the Giants last week? I do not like the matchup of Herbert and that trio of wideouts that he spreads the ball around to against, let's be honest, a secondary that's in shambles in Washington.
Cakes, we also are laid an egg. We're also coming off a dud.
I'm well aware. I watched the whole thing. It burned my retinas.
Didn't have the lead for 1 second.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, why won't we bounce back?
Yeah.
I just think the Chargers are better.
I just think, like you said, the way the Chargers played last week against a bad team, against a rookie quarterback making his first start, 14 penalties, I just think they're going to bounce back and play a much more sound game. I think they're going to be more efficient. If Washington can't get pressure on Herbert, and JP's pointed out all week, Herbert has been the most pressured quarterback in the league, then that's got to continue, because if he can sit back there for 3-4 seconds and pick his spots, they're going to kill Lattimore and that secondary.
Yep. You know, one of the things we talked about this week was Omari Hampton. Guys drafted 22nd overall, first-round pick, and he's really started to emerge here the last 2 weeks. I think that's the key. If Washington's defense can shut down Hampton, I think they will be able to generate pressure, because everybody's generated pressure against Herbert. There's no Rashawn Slater all season. Joe Alt gets banged up. Mekhi Becton didn't play last week. Their offensive line is in shambles. Justin Herbert was hit 12 times by the Giants. He's been hit 26 times in the last 2 weeks. He's been pressured last week on 48% of their dropbacks. Washington, if you can shut down the run, you should be able to pressure Herbert. I think they'll do a better job defensively. And this is not some juggernaut offense. They're averaging just 22 points per game. So I know the Atlanta game didn't look pretty, and everybody's freaking out, and we got callers that want to fire Joe Witt, and people hate Marshawn Lattimore. I think that the defense should have a better day. I think Washington's going to win this game on the road. I think they're battling injuries. I think they're the better off team. I'll take them 24-21 against the Chargers on the road.
JP, you make a good point about the Giants pressuring him so much last week, but Brian Burns is better than every defensive lineman Washington has combined. Mm-hmm. He's a better pass rusher than all of them combined.
Right.
All right, and they also have Abdul Carter, a stud rookie. But anyway, I just question how well they're going to travel, and with all those injuries, stop this Charger team that has a lot of weapons coming off a bad game. Hopefully Jaden plays well, but I still think the Chargers win 27-19.
I think Herbert and company are in attack mode from the first drive. They're going to go after Lattimore. They're going to go after Mikey Sanders still. They know that secondary is leaking oil. I like the Chargers to win 28-21. Justin Herbert has a 300-plus yard passing game.
Bickle loves my prediction of 27-19. You know what? Washington goes for 2, and they don't get it.
I mean, maybe it happens. I just don't know who's going to stop Quentin Johnston, right? Yeah. I think that kind of plays into what a lot of us are saying. He's got 4 touchdowns. He's 5th in the league in receiving yardage. I know Lattimore can't cover him. Can Mikey cover him, maybe? I don't know. Trey Amos? I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just nervous that we haven't seen the Jaden Daniels of 2024, the one with the Superman's cape. We haven't seen that one yet, so I'm a little bit nervous. Unfortunately, I'll take the Chargers 27 and Washington 21.
All right, a lot of similar scores from you. 3 of the Junkies going with the home team, the Chargers. That would mean it's a misery Monday. Hopefully, we won't have to deal with that on the Junkies at 6 a.m. Back to you, boys.
Thank you, fellas. Who would you put on Quentin Johnston? Of the you get 3, who would you put on him? Because that is, I think, a topic of discussion. Not that anyone's going to be following him. I don't know that they have anyone that is a shadow, so to speak, the way that we're watching Patrick Surtain shadow A.J. Brown in this Philly-Denver game. But I am curious as to who you think will spend the most amount of time matched up with Quentin Johnston.
Well, it is a Sunday, so I'm sure our Lord and Savior is not available to try and cover Quentin Johnston. So maybe
I think he's busy.
Maybe we'll see if he can give some coverage ability to Marshawn Lattimore. I think with Johnston, if you can rough him up at the line of scrimmage, you'll have a shot. But that's the dangerous piece of this. I think they're going to try to bring pressure today to get after Herbert, and it may leave you bare in the back end. That's the question. But to answer yours, I mean, nobody?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to getting a little bit of Trey Amos.
Yeah.
Because I think he's been the best corner so far. A low bar for Washington, but he's been the best corner, so I would love to see him get a little bit of action. I honestly wouldn't. Maybe I'm just feeling the Ron Rivera-isms in me, who, by the way, is calling this game for radio. And you just showed me a picture during that segment of Ron Rivera talking with Adam Peters. I would kill to be a fly on the turf of that particular conversation with Adam Peters lambasting Ron and his inability to draft. But maybe you'd put Sainer still on him and say, you were really good last year when we put you on in what would traditionally be oversized matchups. You came up big, so let's see if we can maybe rejuvenate you a little bit, because the confidence that he's playing with is not what it was last year. Before we get to Danny Rouillet of Grant and Danny here, Lynnell, a quick trip around the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens are getting brutally beaten by the Houston Texans. That one's 41-10. The Saints up 26-14 over the New York Giants. Man, that Jackson Dart honeymoon ended really quick. The Philadelphia Eagles are just, Bo Nix can do literally nothing against this Philadelphia Eagles defense. It's 17-3. He can't make good throws. When he does make good throws, the guys are dropping it. They're finally throwing to A.J. Brown, which is nice for someone like me that has him on his fantasy team. The Cowboys up 30-6 over the Jets. The Jets are not a real football team. The Colts are up 40-3 over the Raiders. The Raiders are barely a real football team. And the best game of the day so far, Lynnell, is the Dolphins and the Panthers, just like all of us thought. The Dolphins up 17-13 over the Carolina Panthers. When we get back, we'll get Danny Rouillet on the phone with us. He will give us his thoughts on this matchup for the Commanders. He's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show on 106.7 The Fan. Is the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980 live from Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us if you need a place to watch the game. They got food and drink specials all game day. They got a Halloween menu as well if you want to get involved in spooky season. You dressing up for Halloween? No?
Of course not.
No? I tried to get you in there. All right, let's get to our guy, Danny Rouillet of the Grant and Danny program every Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 6:30 on 106.7 The Fan. Danny, what's the confidence level feeling like as we're less than an hour away from kickoff?
It's not too high, and I know you guys know me, and you'll roll your eyes because I'm the guy that incorrectly said the Giants would win in week number 1. First of all, how are you? I love you in that way. Second of all, the thing that I said about the Giants themselves was wrong, obviously, but my view on the team, on talking about Washington, I think was right on. They've kind of been sluggish. They've been old. They looked slow at times. They've been injured a whole mess. They haven't gotten off firing on all cylinders. There have been plenty of good things, as you guys have talked about on your excellent pregame show. The offense, despite not, clicking and firing, is, still you're putting up mid-20s points per game with backup quarterbacks in there and a slew of injuries to key players. But this is an issue this week. Justin Herbert is a sentient human being that can grip a football and throw it. They have receivers that are good at catching the football and running with it. That is a devastating combination against this Washington secondary, which is a hot pile of trash that's been left out too long. And a couple of raccoons were curious, swung by, left some of their excrement on top of it, and then there's more heat, and then a skunk came by, and there was a whole thing. Their secondary is garbage. They can't stop the ball through the air. So I'm terrified of this one. And they also haven't played very well on the road. So if we're going out of 10, it's like a 4 out of 10. I feel like if it's within one score and Jaden Daniels, knee brace and all is available to do his magic, maybe that's kind of the recipe to escape with one this week.
Joe Witt, Danny, I thought was pretty forthcoming this week about what went wrong last Sunday in Atlanta. And the one thing that stood out to me that was pretty interesting is that guys were reading social media, listening too much to outside noise. When you heard that info and heard that quote, what was your immediate reaction?
In the words of Jason Bateman, I did not love it. So, Lynnell, you're a very young person. I believe there's some sort of acronym that comes with that. But you and Denton, you also know this too. You guys have been around enough to know this is the hallmark of when a defense is bad. Somebody's telling me the reason that Marshawn Lattimore can't cover is because someone tweeted. No, that's not it. The reason they can't communicate via coverage, again, is somebody may have posted a meme on Facebook or something. Nope, that's wrong. This is a bad secondary, bad coverage, maybe bad concepts. I don't know enough to be able to tell you one way or the other. I just know the dudes are open all the time. I know that the Las Vegas Raiders licked their chops and saw what Green Bay did and then did it too. I saw that the Atlanta Falcons gave Michael Penix the best passing day he's ever had in his young career. And, Drake London looked like Jerry Rice 2.0, mixed a little Terrell Owens in there. So, say what you want, have your coaching points, that's all fine. But I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in anything other than effective football play. And I'm glad you can identify the reason. I'm more interested in the fix. Joe Witt's awesome at the podium. He's tough and fun and strong, and I'd love to have that guy organize a bachelor party for somebody because it would run really well. But at this point, I'm not interested in the reason why is somebody saw that someone said something nice or mean on social media. I don't buy it at all. I'm not interested in that. To me, there are far more pressing concerns. But if you look, he's up there doing his job. He's not really trying to give us anything, and sharing what he can. And so I kind of roll my eyes at that sort of stuff.
Is there anything that Marshawn Lattimore can do to win you back?
No. Well, obviously he plays well, but so the answer realistically is no. I don't think he's capable of it. And I get it. I'm old. I'm 46. I'm washed. I can't do anything. I was a decent athlete in my day, decades ago. He's got multiple injuries and has not been the same player since 2021. If he turns it around, I'll be happy to say so. I just don't see it coming, guys. I don't think he has it in him. I don't think he has the skill set. I don't think he has the athleticism. And I think they're still treating him like he does, which is what's so puzzling to me. I think now we'll start to see more of Trey Amos shading towards number one wide receivers. Problem this week is you've got a few of those guys that are really, really good for a good receiving corps. I think some adjustments will be made there, but you hear the excuse makers who hope Marshawn Lattimore invites them out to dinner at One Loud. He's a man corner who's playing zone. You can't do either, guys, at this point. You want to leave him alone on an island against Quentin Johnson? You want Ladd McConkey working underneath against him? You want A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith in the division in some press man against that guy that's washed? No, thank you. So, you got to hide them as best you can because there are no great answers waiting in the wings. It's the same thing as last year where it's, Dookie and Nacho and pray for rain as your fourth cornerback. And I think we're going to see more of him as time progresses. But, yeah, to me, short of him turning it around and playing well, which I just don't see happening, no.
Lost in the turmoil of the defense this week, Danny, is the fact that Jayden Daniels is returning. When we saw him against Green Bay, wasn't very pretty. Your expectations for him here this afternoon, minus Terry McLaurin, minus Noah Brown? Sounds like something good's happening out there.
Right. I mean, to me, again, not having McLaurin, not having Noah Brown against a really good defense in the Chargers D. Now, they haven't played any offense as good as Washington did. I heard Denton say that earlier on in the program, but I think that's true. But at the same time, Daniels wasn't good in his first couple of games before coming back. 0 time on the grass in terms of preseason, working with that first-team offense. They get more veteran rest days than any team in the history of human beings. I think it was 2 or 3 actual honest-to-good practices with Terry McLaurin. So, yeah, he wasn't sharp to start the season. And I think he probably needs a game or two to get his sea legs underneath him. Probably not fair to ask him to be a superstar just yet. I think he needs to play a couple of times before that happens. I think he will put the cape on at some point this year. He's too good not to. But, again, against a really good defense that's going to zone you and play a lot like Green Bay did, try to get home with a handful of rushers and keep everything in front of him, and he's wearing a knee brace. It's not like I have PTSD from that, my athletic quarterback wearing a knee brace or anything. But, short of that, I think today is a first step towards eventual greatness, and he will be there at some point this year. The cape will be back on. They'll go on a run. I just don't think it's fair to expect it this week.
How many times does Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt need to carry the football today?
So Grant and I have had some really good conversations about this, and I don't know the answer to that, and that is a tremendous cop-out and probably the worst thing you could say on the radio. Here are the things that I don't know about it, guys. I know that Cliff Kingsbury and this offensive staff do not trust him in pass pro. I know that because they've kind of hinted as much. They said everything short of that specifically, so there are probably a subset, a limit of plays that you can then have him on the field for. Otherwise, it's an obvious tell that it's either going to him in the run game or going to him in the pass game where he will not be pass protecting because they feel like he's vulnerable in that regard. So that limits things. I also don't know, because he didn't play football last year because the NCAA stinks on ice, if he can go through an entire season without getting nicked up, beat up, etc. Remember, he missed time at training camp, was on the injury report not this week but the week before, sitting out a bunch of days with kind of a minimal amount of usage. So I don't know the answer to that. He's the best running back with football in his hands. That's not the debate to me. That's not the excuse, or that's not the argument. To me, it's can you trust him to do the other stuff? Kind of it's like a 2-guard away from the basketball when he's going to play in point guard. Can you do all those things to work yourself free, to get yourself loose, or in this case, to be a good pass protector, to make all the necessary adjustments? I don't know the answer to that yet. So, in an ideal world where those things aren't factored in, I'd like them to have double-digit carries and touches. Because, again, he's electric. He turns 3 into 8. He turns 8 into 15. He breaks things. He slithers around. He's got a little Le'Veon Bell to him in terms of that setup and that slide and that kind of, some Alvin Kamara balance and some quick breeze and his ability to see and have vision. I like his hands out of the backfield as well. Again, it's the pass pro stuff, and I don't know if he can hold up for an entire season because they're going to need him, especially without Austin Eckler on the roster.
It's going to be huge. Danny, where are you at right now with this team as far as like when you check their temperature? Do you think that they're for real, or do you think that they're a pretender at this point, talking about Washington? And I mean that through the lens of, is this a playoff team or not? Does it look like a playoff team through the first month?
They haven't yet, and we're giving them the benefit of the doubt because there's some pretty significant deposits last year, Lynnell. And they were significant, right? What they did last year was magical and awesome. Now, what I've argued is that was a 9-win team that caught a bunch of breaks that, they put themselves in a good position to create. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that, given what they were before that. They were a garbage fire. They were the laughingstock. It was them. It was, the Texans pre-C.J. Stroud. It's the Browns. It's the womp team can't get right? So that was a major violent step forward. The culture was changed. You bring in the Wagners, you bring in the Ertzes, you bring in, the Televiotises to stabilize things, veterans who are there, who are, kind of establishing a new way of doing things. And now we all, I think this fan base got fat real quick. And we just kind of assumed you roll the footballs out there, same group, give them a bunch of off days in the preseason. We'll be fine. It's going to happen. Jaden will fix it. The defense is broken. They're better against the run, which is adorable and precious, but they can't stop ball through the air, which is it's going to be 3rd and 7 at some point. So they are not a good enough team to talk about being a playoff team right now. Will they play better? That's the variable. That's the question. I think they will. I've been sort of standing on the table for that. My whole point, my whole thesis, and again, it's why I incorrectly predicted they lose to the Giants in Week 1, was I think they're going to start this year sluggish. Eventually, they'll get going, but it might be too much of a challenge with a deep NFC, right? You look at what the NFC West has done through a handful of weeks where everybody coming into this weekend had a winning record. You look at Detroit has kind of found their footing. Philadelphia is not slowing down under any circumstances. So all of a sudden you start doing the math and, 9 wins might not get you in. Seattle didn't get in with 10 wins last year. So I think they're in that conversation if they turn it on. I think that turn-on is going to happen. I just don't know exactly when that's going to be, as Terry McLaurin hasn't done anything to this point, and he's battling an injury. You're counting on Noah Brown to do something besides do Noah Brown stuff, where he plays for 7 minutes and then gets hurt for weeks and months at a time. I don't know. I don't feel the same confidence just calling balls and strikes on this team, even as a fan, that maybe a lot of the folks did. And I think people are kind of starting to come to grips with that, waking up to that reality.
All right, Danny, so who wins today? Who wins today?
Yeah, I know. This is the real fun one, right? The real that are pressing got short before kickoff. I picked the Chargers on our show. I think the Chargers can throw the football. I understand that their offensive line is banged up, and let's say Washington has a great day, 5 sacks. There's still going to be 30 times where the ball's in the air, and Washington right now this minute, to me, coming into this game, is the single worst team dealing with the football in the air. Once it leaves the quarterback's hands, they are befuddled, clueless, and terrible. I think this is a reminiscent of the Green Bay game where some offense is going to happen. They'll move the football, but just not have enough to keep pace with the Chargers. I think Johnston, I think McConkey, and I think Keenan Allen have nice days through the air. I don't know about Amari and Hampton through the air. Maybe they find a matchup or two to get them on Bobby Wagner, et cetera. But I like a 30-21 Chargers win here. 2-3 coming home, facing a rested Bears team on Monday night, which will be a massive, massive game.
Danny, appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the rest of the game that you're currently watching, and then we kick off obviously in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, man, good guys are up 3-0. We're having fun out here.
And Danny. Thanks,
As
Danny.
Danny Rouillet joining us here. He is co-host of the Grant Danny Show every Monday through Friday, 2 to 6:30 p.m. on 106.7 The Fan. He is Lynnell Willingham. I am Denton Day. We are live from Honor Brewing in Sterling, hanging out here about 40 minutes or so, Lynnell, prior to kickoff between Washington and Los Angeles. We'll go around the NFL as we are now in what Scott Hansen calls the witching hour across the league, and we'll give some realistic expectations for Jaden Daniels, his return to play, his return to California as well. Will it be enough for Washington to get a win? That when we get back here on 106.7 The Fan of the Team 980. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham live from Honor Brewing in Sterling. Remember like 20 minutes ago, Lynnell, when I said Denver can't do anything against Philadelphia? They're now winning against Philadelphia. Bo Nix has looked fantastic in the fourth quarter, so we got our eyes on that one. We're about a little over 30 minutes away from kickoff in Los Angeles with the Commanders and the Chargers. It's the first game that Jaden Daniels will be playing in since the Thursday night debacle that took place against the Green Bay Packers. I am excited to see Jaden back in action. I'm excited to see and hopefully see a return to form of Jaden Daniels from the guy in 2024 that made us all happy as a clam and had us calling him a top 5 quarterback. I know it's a little bit easier said than done, but my expectations for Jaden today, Lynnell, are very, very high to play like the guy that we saw in 2024.
Yeah, I just don't know how realistic that is at this point in the season. I think Danny did a good job going through it when we just had him here. He looked rusty in the first 2 weeks of the season. He's missed the last 2 weeks and hasn't had the benefit of practicing. He's at least was able to practice throughout the course of camp. He hasn't practiced. This was his first full week of practice in a while, and I just don't know, man. It feels like it's hard to discount the fact that he hasn't had a lot of time on task with these wide receivers, and I do expect against a really good Chargers defense that maybe he does struggle a little bit. The key for me, though, is going to be Cliff Kingsbury. I think Jaden's performance and how well he fares today is going to depend a lot on if Cliff Kingsbury calls a good game or not. And last week against Atlanta, I don't think he called a good football game. I know you scored 27 points, but you couldn't possess the football. You were 1 of 8 on third down. They have to get back to who they are offensively and staying ahead of the sticks, taking your selective shots down the field. If the game plan is called that way, then maybe he will have some success. But I just don't know, man. I know it's a terrible answer, but like,
what does it constitute as being a good game for Cliff today? Like, is there a number thing? Is it a feel thing? Because in my mind, I would love Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to get anywhere from 10 plus carries. We haven't really seen that yet this year. He's been the best running back. His vision, I mean, we talk about this all the time. His vision, his agility, his way that he attacks the hole, his patience when attacking the hole in ways that the previous running back one never really did. Like, is it a number thing in terms of how many times they're running the football, or is it more feel?
I think it has everything to do with staying ahead of the sticks. And if that's by running the football, great. If that's by way of the quick passing game, great. Just keep this offense on schedule. And I know he can't help if someone jumps off sides. He can't help if someone holds. But, like, I think even dating back to last year, Denton, like, that's the most important thing for Washington offensively. Stand ahead of the sticks so you do not let this Chargers pass rush be able to pin their ears back.
I think this is the game where Bill does get over 10 carries.
I hope so.
I think Cliff is finally going to realize it. Because I don't know that – not that he would ever come up and lie to us, but I don't know that he trusts the wide receivers a ton right now. And to be fair, they haven't really given you a reason to trust them at this point because you don't have a lot of guys that have had real NFL experience. I mean, I was looking, just because I'm a numbers guy, the number for Jalen Lane in terms of receiving yards is 19 today. The number for Luke McCaffrey is 20.
Wow.
Like, they don't have high expectations for these receiver groups in Vegas, and I don't know that Cliff's expectations are any higher for them. Obviously, you get to work with them a little bit more. You see them in practice significantly more, but they haven't done anything to show you that they can make explosive plays. I hope that changes today, but your running game has been able to maybe not have a ton of big explosives, although certainly more now than in previous years, but they're really good at getting 6. They're really good at picking up, a 5 when you need 4. They've done a really good job winning at the point of attack at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, they have. And I said it earlier in the show, Cliff's got to determine how important establishing the line of scrimmage is to him. He's got to determine how important it is for them to run the football because I think last week against Atlanta, it was something like 7 yards a pop. And you just didn't see the volume of carries to match the success that they were having on the ground. But I've kind of opened my mind up to this because that's why I kind of hedged a moment ago. As important as it is to run the football, Denton, I think it's just as important to stay ahead of the sticks. So if you're getting stuffed on the interior by this rushing attack, or excuse me, by this defense of the Chargers, then maybe the quick passing game is how you do it. I know this. Do not call another game like you called Thursday night against the Packers.
No.
That will get me to rip my hair out.
When you say quick passing game, are you referring specifically to screens, and then do you trust the other guys to be able to block those? Because that's my big issue when it comes to those. I love some of the talent out there in terms of like a Jalen Lane in open space, a Deebo Samuel in open space, but we've also seen Luke not be the greatest blocker in the world on those. Chris Moore not be the greatest blocker in the world on those. I think Ben Sinnott blocked his ass off last week against Atlanta, so maybe you utilize him in that scenario. But I don't know that they have a lot of guys that can block on the outside against a defense in Los Angeles that, if nothing else, they are a Harbaugh defense.
Yeah.
I know when you think of Harbaugh as an offensive guy, but it's a mentality thing with Jim Harbaugh. They love to hit on the defensive side, so that does worry me a little bit in terms of that quick passing game.
Yeah, I think someone's going to have to break a tackle or two, man.
Or six.
I think last year I thought De'Ami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus were really, really good in that area in terms of the first man not bringing them down. Debo is the only dude in the receiving corps today that I feel comfortable with saying that. I know Bill, when you get him the ball in space, first guy's not going to bring him down. But in order to be able to stay with the quick game, you can't just get 3 yards with it, right? Last week, I think it was 4.8 yards of completion for Marcus Mariota. It's just not good enough from an NFL passing attack. And we keep talking about Bill and Bill's ability to hit home runs. I think he's going to need to rip one, or someone's going to need to break off.
If they want home runs, they better give him some damn at-bats.
Yeah.
you can't hit a home run from the dugout. I'm not the biggest baseball guy. I know that much, right? If you're going to get a home run, you better get some damn at-bats. When we get back, the Rooster coming out to join us. Chris Russell will be with us. We'll get his thoughts on the game. He's in Willingham. I'm Denton Day. 30 minutes from kickoff in Los Angeles between the Commanders and Chargers. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show. Denton, Lynnell, Willingham. We are live from Honor Brewing in Sterling. Come hang out with us. They got game day specials on food and drinks. They got a Halloween menu as well. We're about 25 minutes away from kickoff with Washington and Los Angeles. They're out there in Los Angeles. It's a homecoming for QB1. Jaden Daniels playing for the first time in nearly a month, Lynnell. High expectations for him, and they need the help. Do the Commanders. The performance last week against Atlanta is not going to cut it against Los Angeles today. Joining us now to give his side of perspective with this matchup is our guy, Chris. All right, we'll get to Chris Russell here, Lynnell. You don't have your microphone on. How are you feeling about as we get closer and closer to this matchup?
Terrible.
What tell me how you really feel?
Honestly, I have very little confidence that the defense is just all of a sudden going to turn things around. I hope that Javon Kinlaw and Deron Payne choose to be game wreckers this afternoon, because if they don't, the Chargers are going to score a lot. Point blank. It's all on those two guys.
So you're way off on the defense then. It's just you're just completely done with them.
Unless what I just said happens, and that is the front four. I don't want to limit it to just two guys. The front four for Washington, Deron Payne, Kinlaw, Dorrance, Preston Smith making his debut, Jacob Martin, Eddie Goldman, Jazon Newton, like they have to take over up front. If they don't, it's going to be a really long game.
Now we will go out to get our guy, Chris Russell, the Rooster. Roost, how you feeling 25 minutes away from kickoff here?
What's up, fellas? Feeling nervous that this is, that this could be ugly if they lose. But, the optimistic side of me, and you guys know how optimistic I am always, wants to believe that this team will put in a much more inspired effort than they did last Sunday, and more than effort and want to, actually can do and will do and give themselves a chance to win. So, I'm not feeling terrible, but I'm not feeling overly confident or even really confident. I guess semi-confident that they'll have a chance to win it in the fourth quarter.
For the Chargers offensively, what is the biggest concern you have for as far as how we stop them?
Wait, say again, Lynnell. I'm having trouble hearing you.
I said for the Chargers offense, what about that group should put fear in Washington the most?
Yeah, look, you look at Amarian Hampton, he's off to a great start, right? Obviously, Justin Herbert's ability to extend plays and break you down and throw from all sorts of funky angles, and, even when you think you have him cornered or trapped, he'll manage to flip one sideways or and with velocity and extending plays, and does coverage break down? Because I don't know about you guys, I haven't been able to listen to the show, but I expect them to be in a lot more man coverage today, and blitzing more and pressure more. Even though Herbert can take off and, again, extend plays with his legs, it's not like you have to worry about him per se like a Lamar Jackson or a Jaden Daniels or whatever. So those are, the two big things that I worry about. And also, like Dan Quinn said, he wants them to be more aggressive on the defensive line. So I would look for more twists, more stunts, more slants. Well, does that mean because you're crashing inside, does that allow something to bounce outside that turns a relatively harmless 4 or 5 yard run into a 40 or 50 yard gain, specifically from Hampton or somebody else?
So you mentioned the idea of blitzing. Are you thinking that that's going to be a Frankie Louvu sort of decision that's going, or they're going to utilize Frankie Louvu rather, or do you think somebody else will be a key component in the blitz?
Yeah, I would imagine Frankie Louvu is going to certainly have a couple of opportunities, but I'll go one step further. I mean, it's not definite that you'll see this, but I remember Bobby Wagner against Vegas taking advantage of a porous offensive line, and yes, they were missing one of their guards, so that helped. I didn't see, is Mekhi Becton active or is he inactive?
I have not seen that yet either. It's a good point you just made.
Okay.
I am not sure.
Well, I know he was banged up. I mean, obviously they don't have Joe Alt, they don't have Rashawn Slater, so we know they're thin, weak, whatever on the tackles. So that would speak to Luvu. But I'll go. The thing that I tweeted about earlier, I don't know how you guys feel about this, is I'd rather go down. If I'm going to go down in this game, be more aggressive than less aggressive. Yeah. And last week, I thought they would play more zone. They did play more zone, and they played it horribly. I joked all week. They played zone like they were playing in Savannah, Georgia, not Atlanta, Georgia, meaning they were so far away from guys at times and such a big hole that they just couldn't execute it. So I would expect them to be more aggressive. And to me, maybe you see a corner blitz, maybe you see a safety blitz trying to get Quan Martin on track because he struggled out of the gates. Maybe you see Revo coming down and again with a safety blitz, or Sandra still out of the slot, something like that.
Real quick, Mekhi Becton is active today, so you will see Mekhi Becton out there in some capacity.
Okay.
Well, there we go. That was a big question that I had because that's who Amarion Hampton has been running behind. Big ticket has been moving people all year long. Let's go to Washington's offense here. We've talked about it all afternoon long, Chris, the return of Jaden Daniels. How important is it for Cliff Kingsbury to ease him into this football game, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think as we talked about on, Friday night, Lynnell?
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope that you're not looking at a 15-16 type carry day here. I would hope that there isn't like designed 3rd and 8 from the 9 and you drop them back at a pistol or gun and it's a design quarterback draw. Like I would hope that there's very little of that, if none of that. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't carry the football. I'm not saying that he can't extend plays, but I don't want him having less protection than he has in the pocket. And I realize things can happen in the pocket too, obviously. But you've got more protection in the pocket as opposed to taking some of these torpedo missile hits out in midfield that maybe he doesn't see and recognize, like what happened in Green Bay the last time we saw him. So to me, I would get them untracked. This is me. Obviously, the physical running game that we again saw against the Giants and Vegas, yes, that's great. But to me, getting Jaden into a rhythm, you guys were just talking about some of the quick game. Like, I think that's important too. And then when you feel like the Chargers are starting to crowd the line of scrimmage, then take your deep shot, even without Terry, right? Take it to Debo on a deep post. Take it to, Chris Moore can't really catch a whole lot of balls. He drops a lot of balls, but he can get open and he can run routes, right? We've seen that. Throw it to him. Scare maybe not the bejesus out of them, but stretch the defense. Let them know you're there. Let them know that you'll go up top. Let them know that they can't just crowd the line of scrimmage. So that's how I think Cliff gets him warmed up and gets that oil running through the engine.
So, Roos, when it comes to the receivers, last week against Atlanta, only one guy had more than 2 catches. That was Debo Samuel. Do you think that anyone on the outside is more of a factor today?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Debo had 2 4th down catches, right? One on the sideline out early on that led to a touchdown. I can't remember.
That doesn't sound good.
We are losing Chris Russell, so we will wait for Ben in studio to get him back there. Man, I was looking forward to his answer there because that's been one of my biggest questions, and that's going to be a defining question for Washington's offense is can anyone other than number 1 make plays, really just of any kind? It doesn't have to be massive explosives, just plays of any kind on the outside to give Jaden Daniels a little bit of help.
For sure, and I think someone's got to do something on the perimeter to really threaten this Chargers defense vertically. I think we saw Debo get vertical last week. As you all mentioned, the 2 4th down catches. The one where he got vertical for the touchdown was the one that really was the biggest, I don't want to say surprise, but it was a good revelation for this offense because if he can be a guy that can stress defenses vertically, I feel more comfortable in a Luke McCaffrey or a Jalen Lane being able to fill the role of the underneath stuff.
Sorry, Chris, we lost you there, but we were talking about the wide receivers and somebody other than Debo making a play. Roost, you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm having trouble hearing you down the line. My bad. I mean, just talking about McCaffrey, right? I mean, to me, he's probably got the sure hands that you're kind of looking for. Like, the big thing that I would say, if you're going to take a deep shot early, which I would, to kind of let them know you're there and to let them know Jaden is capable and willing to do that, to me, if it goes incomplete because it's an overthrow on Jaden's line, or because it's tight coverage, that's one thing. If you get an opportunity to get your mitts on one of these medium to deep shots, please squeeze it. Please don't waste an opportunity, because I've seen this team. I think we've all seen, right? Week 1 was a disaster catching the ball. They've had a couple of balls. Lane didn't come up with a touchdown in the front corner of the end zone. Chris Moore I mentioned, right? There have been too many times where they've dialed something up and had something to at least sustain momentum, flip the field, do something, maybe make it 3rd and whatever instead of 3rd and long, and they just drop it or don't come up with a catch. Please don't waste any opportunities. If you get the opportunity, hit it. If you overthrow it, if you're Jaden, okay, I can live with that a little bit. Sure, you'd like him to pull the string, but I can live with a little bit of that. If it's underthrown, if it's super-duper tight coverage, okay, that's football. But don't blow any easy-to-make opportunities. I think that's going to be a thing for me today that I hope I'm not frustrated in 3+ hours with, in addition to being better on 3rd down.
For sure, you mentioned it. They were 1 for 8 on 3rd down last weekend. Big part of that is you didn't have the success on the early downs because Cliff decided he didn't want to run the football. Back to the defense, Chris. It's all about the defense, right? Your confidence level that this front 4 can take over for the 3rd time in 5 weeks.
I mean, it's more. I'm more confident than I probably should be, just because, again, Alt and Rashawn Slater, and Slater's been gone since obviously midway through training camp, but because those guys aren't there, and because I feel like they had kind of a porous week last week, and Quinn mentioned what Quinn mentioned, I think it was on Monday, about being disappointed in the plan of attack on Monday. So I think they'll be in a more advantageous situation. I think they'll be in a more winnable situation than what we saw Sunday, and certainly what we saw against Green Bay. I mean, for God's sakes, what are we doing if it doesn't happen, right? They've invested in this defensive line. I know your guy JJB is out, and that sucks. I feel bad for him. But, I mean, what are we doing? Is this the book of Deron Payne, that he's going to have one good game and then be invisible and hard to find? Well, that's kind of been his career outside of 1 year, right? Kinlaw, right? He's been good so far, but I need him to be great today. I need him to eat people and eat space and collapse the pocket and flush or corral or pin Justin Herbert. And obviously Dorrance Armstrong is doing Dorrance Armstrong things. How about this? Von Miller, right? He bursts into the backfield on a little toss to the right or whatever it was last week on Tyler Algier, and he misses the tackle. They need more pass rush, obviously, out of Vaughn, but they also need more plays beyond the line of scrimmage from all of these guys. And I know they had a few last week in Atlanta, but they need more of an impact in terms of controlling the game like they did against Vegas and New York. And I guess I shouldn't be as confident because you just never know what to expect, but I am semi-confident in the group.
All right, Roost, we'll get you out of here on this. Are you celebrating on Monday? Is it a victory Monday or a misery Monday tomorrow?
Well, you guys know me. I got to give you the truth. I got it as a misery Monday. I think I'm going to go, I think I did on the show 21-17 Chargers. Like I said, I think they'll have a chance in the fourth quarter, and they just come up short somehow, whether that's a turnover or not making a play on defense or some, not being able to get off the field on 3rd down like what happened last week in Atlanta on that final drive. Something, hopefully it's not a missed field goal or turnover or whatever, but I think they'll lose a close one. But I think you'll feel better about the defense after today. I don't know if you'll feel better about the offense because I think it'll take Jaden some time to kind of settle down and get it back into the flow of things.
Bruce, we appreciate the time as always. Respectfully, I hope you're wrong. It'll make my life a little bit easier. But
disrespectfully, I hope you're your usual inaccurate self.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bruce,
boys. I appreciate it. Sorry about the phone problems.
All good. That is Chris Russell. You can hear him Monday through Friday, 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Team 980. When we get back, Lynnell, we will give our official predictions. We're under 10 minutes away from kickoff with Washington and Los Angeles. Don't go anywhere. Burgundy and Gold pregame wraps up next. It's the Burgundy and Gold pregame show. Denton Day, Lynnell, Willingham. About 5 minutes from kickoff, Lynnell. It's time for some official predictions. We got like 3 seconds left in this Denver-Philadelphia game, and this place is about to erupt if Philadelphia loses. this game. But I will start with you as we got a couple minutes left. You have not been the most optimistic. Your optimistic self is not here today. But do you think that Washington can come away with a win in the return of QB5?
I have picked them each and every week here on the pregame.
You have.
If they lose today, it's my last time picking them. I'm going to pick them to win because I'm an idiot. And I just assume that they'll all of a sudden be able to cover people. I assume that the pass rush.
You can just pick them to lose.
Will wake up. Yeah, I just can't. Give me Washington in a super ugly football game, 24-21, Matt Gay walk-off field goal.
I think that would Matt Gay walk-off field goal. He's been really good as of late. I don't know. He's hit a lot of field goals in a row here. I am more optimistic than you are, which is very abnormal for our show dynamic. I am usually a little bit more of the pessimist, but I am more optimistic. Philadelphia just tried a Hail Mary and missed it. Sucks to suck. I'm going to take Washington to win, but I'm going to take them to win pretty comfortably. I think it's going to be 27-21. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be like the Jaden Daniels that we were hoping he was going to be at the start of the season, where he's dynamic, he throws well into the tight windows, he makes the correct decisions with the football from the jump. I think he's going to come out playing angry. The beast is finally out of his cage. He wanted to play the last 2 weeks. He did not play the last 2 weeks. He was not happy about that. He made that very, very clear that he was not happy about that. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be excellent today. And I think when Jaden Daniels is excellent, Washington as a team is excellent. So I'm picking Washington to win 27-21, and Jaden is going to be by far the player of the game. It's just somebody has to get after Justin Herbert. They got to find ways to get pressure on Justin Herbert. You read the numbers. He's a completely different quarterback when there's pressure on him versus when there isn't.
Totally, and I think that, like we've been talking about all show, is going to be the key to the game. Can the front four be extremely disruptive if they can? I think Washington's got a good shot.
Any bets on this one that you have here before we let the people get out of here?
Corey Krosky-Merritt is plus money to go over 40 yards. Give me that.
So you like Jacory Krosky-Merritt. You're not doing the bit where you are betting against the team at all.
No,
not at all. I do have Justin Herbert over his yards. I do have Justin Herbert, but I took Jaden anytime touchdown 3-1 as well. I think Jaden's going to get into the end zone. I think he's going to be used a lot more in the run game, but it's going to be a little bit more of a comfortable use of Jaden Daniels in the run game, not just like quarterback power into big bodies at the line of scrimmage.
We'll see, man. I just hope he is healthy. We're like 90 seconds away from kick. If they put this boy out there and he's not 100% healthy,
that's going to be a problem.
We might not get invited back to Honor Brewing. I'll put it that way. I have no time to watch him limp around. If they put him out there and he's not 100%, we're going to have a major problem.
I can't imagine that's going to be the case, but we are going to be with you every step of the way if that is the case. We'll be live on Twitter and YouTube at the half, as we are each and every week in the 2025 season. It'll be your only commercial-free Commanders centric halftime show in media period. But certainly in the DMV. We'll be live at the post game as well. Still right here at Honor Brewing. So if you need a place to come watch the game, you're undecided, they got great food and drink specials. I'm chowing down on some pretzel bites as soon as we are off the air. So come hang out with us. It's going to be a great time. And we're hoping that Washington is going to jump to 3-2 on the season. He's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. We'll see you in about an hour and a half at halftime with the Commanders and Chargers.